Good morning from beautiful Grenada. Yes, indeed. If you are joining us for the very first time, a warm welcome to you. Please stand for the singing of the National Anthem of Grenada by Shoshana McMeo.
Good morning, everybody. Hail, Grenada, land of ours, we pledge ourselves to thee. Heads, hearts, and hands in unity to reach our destiny. Ever conscious of God, being proud of our heritage, may we with faith and courage aspire, build, advance. As one people, one family, God bless our nation.
Thank you very much, Ms. McMeo. Please remain standing for the invocation by Pastor Noel Schultz.
Good morning. Let us bow our heads for prayer. Gracious God and Father, we do acknowledge your presence and your goodness to us today. You have blessed us, you have spared our lives, you have brought us to this forum. And now we pray that your presence will be here to guide and direct, that everything would run smoothly according to your will, and that your name would be honored and glorified. Take full control of the proceedings today. Magnify your name, glorify yourself, O God. And we give you thanks and we give you praise for all that will be accomplished here today and over the next few days. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to make some housekeeping announcements to our in-person participants. Please have your cell phones on silent mode. To our remote participants, your microphone and camera are muted by default. These will only be activated if you are invited to speak. We ask that the conversations, comments, and questions posed be professional, on topic, and adhere to CTU's Code of Conduct for events and meetings. Thank you in advance for following these rules. Now, should you experience difficulties, please email us at events@ctu.int for assistance. Also, please note that the agenda, presentations, and bios of speakers during this event can be found on the CTU's website, ctu.int. I'm back for day 2. My name is Kenroy Batiste, and I'm absolutely delighted to take you through the proceedings today. Ms. Cavell Lett, Cabinet Secretary, Government of Grenada. His Excellency Aaron Moses, Grenada Ambassador to CARICOM and the OECS. Other members of the Diplomatic Corps. Mr. Rodney Taylor, Secretary General, Caribbean Telecommunications Union. Mr. Vincent Roberts, Chairman, the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC. Other commissioners of the NTRC. Mr. Timothy Scott, Chief Executive Officer of the NTRC. Management and staff of the NTRC. representatives from regional and international organizations such as American Registry for Internet Numbers, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, Latin American and Caribbean Internet Addresses Registry, Internet Society. Representatives from our partner regional IGFs, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. Now, day one highlights the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum and the 5th Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum. Day one in Grand Anse has been nothing short of inspirational as we traced the Caribbean's digital journey while strengthening the voices of its youth. From the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, we revisited our shared foundations, reaffirming the power of multi-stakeholder collaboration in charting a resilient and inclusive digital future. We saw strong calls to develop regional data hubs and governance frameworks and to fortify our cybersecurity and telecom infrastructure in ways that are not only robust, but also sustainable and energy efficient. Now, the Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum, in parallel, reinforced that young people are not passive observers. They are drivers of innovation, inclusion, and are not afraid to be bold. Their message was clear: Caribbean youth are not the future of internet governance, they are its present. Grenada and the CTU closed the day reaffirming a shared Caribbean commitment to an internet that is inclusive and regionally united. Day one has proven that our vision for the Caribbean is clear. We are therefore excited to continue this engagement today. As we embark on day two, it gives me great pleasure to invite Mr. Rodney Taylor, Secretary General of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, to deliver opening remarks.
Good morning. It's me again, giving you more remarks. So thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies, for acknowledging the dignitaries that we have here, and it's a real honor to have all of you. Of course, we await the arrival of the Minister, the Honorable Redhead. He may be following us online, so if you are a minister, good morning, and we await your arrival. I will not start today by telling you how much I love Grenada, because I've told you that already. I told you I spent my honeymoon here in 1996. And I'm still married to the same wife, and I think Grenada had something to do with that. And I told you that the last time I was here, I went diving on the sculpture park, right? And it was very, very beautiful. And unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to do that again this time around because you need 24 hours after you dive before you fly. So I would not be able to do that this time around because I leave tomorrow night. But I am sure I will be back on a personal visit to enjoy what Grenada has to offer. But it is fitting that we gather in St. George. I was told the difference today between St. George and St. George's by the ambassador. But it is fitting that we gather in St. George because this city already lent its name to one defining chapter in our region's digital story. I think I mentioned last night that in 2022, right here, the CARICOM heads of government, led by the then Prime Minister Mitchell, the other Mitchell, and Prime Minister Motley, Mia Amor Motley of Barbados, signed the Declaration of St. George's, committing our largest mobile operators, Digicel and Cable and Wireless, to dismantle the intra-CARICOM roaming regime in support of the CARICOM single ICT space. So that agreement took place here in Grenada in 2022 to reduce roaming. If you are paying a lot of money to roam within CARICOM, you need to call the CTO, because the operators agreed to dismantle the roaming regime in 2022. You should be able to get a roaming passport to travel within CARICOM for like $15, $20 US for 7 days and so on. So before that regime existed, people would come back with $12,000, $20,000, $25,000 on their mobile phones, right? So if that is happening to you, give this guy here a call, Mr. Nigel Cassimire, who's my deputy. If you can't get him, then give me a call. So that agreement was very, very important because it was not just about roaming. After that agreement, we agreed to do two things as a CTU. We agreed that we would establish a regional regulatory body. So within CARICOM, the regulators of ICT, the regulators of telecoms like NTRC, they exist separately and they regulate their own individual markets. And we agreed that we would establish a regional regulatory body. And we also agreed that we would address the issue of OTTs. Now, yesterday I started with a quiz as to what CCTLDs and so on mean. Can anyone besides NTRC and CTU tell me what OTTs mean? OTTs, you know the term? Not you, Vincent. You were part of the negotiations. Anyone? OTTs. WhatsApp is an OTT. What is OTT? It's over the top services, right? OTTs, over the top. So the operators were very concerned that WhatsApp was taking over their business. You know, how many of you, even in Grenada, you're calling a friend in Grenada, and instead of using the mobile network, you use the mobile network, but you use data because you're using WhatsApp. How many people call on WhatsApp? Of course, everybody does, right? And if you don't call your friend in Grenada, you call definitely outside of Grenada because it's much cheaper to do that. And so the operators were asking us to address this issue of OTTs, and we spent a whole year in negotiations with Meta, with Netflix, with Google, about these OTT services that the operators said that was creating problems for them. And that issue is still unresolved. And even as the global debate has moved on, Europe is grappling with this, Africa is grappling with this. Telecoms operators that provide internet services, the ISPs, complain that these OTTs are eating into their revenue. So the stakes for us are very high. For example, I mean, one of the reasons they said they could not invest in 5G technology, for example, is that we don't have the revenue to invest in these new next generation technologies. And so this is one of the reasons why they have indicated that the region has not moved beyond 4G to 5G because they don't have the investment required. And I raise this not to revisit what we did in 2023, but because fair share is not merely a billing issue. It sits at the heart of what we call network neutrality. So the idea of charging Gemini, Google Gemini, they run on top of networks. They don't pay for networks, but they run on top of networks. And so this issue is one that continues to be a challenge for us, and this is an issue precisely why we have this forum, to ensure that the internet remains open and free, and it continues to develop according to the principles in which it was first developed. So this artificial intelligence that we will be discussing today, it can be considered an over-the-top service. And the same networks that we are debating are about to carry an entirely different order of traffic with AI. So when you ask ChatGPT a question, it requires a lot more resources, network resources, than a Google search. You're aware of this, right? So there are specialized data centers being built for artificial intelligence. In fact, the hot topic in Trinidad and Tobago, where are the Trinidadians in the house? Okay, here we go. All right, so a big issue is data centers, right? They want to build a massive multi-billion-dollar data center in Trinidad and Tobago. And the computing power required to power this, it needs water, it needs energy. And in fact, the energy that it is forecast that the energy required to run this data center is about 25% of the capacity, of the existing capacity of the Trinidad and Tobago electrical grid. This is how much computing power is needed. They need rivers to cool these data centers because of the amount of traffic. So it will create additional burdens on networks, right? And so this issue of over the top and fair share, I think, will continue to be a problem, or an issue. I wouldn't say a problem, but it's an issue for us to address. Over the next 2 days, well, today and tomorrow, we already had yesterday, as we look at the Internet Governance Policy Framework, the discussions will help us to address those issues. How do we maintain an open and free Internet in the region and ensure that the networks and those who have invested in the networks remain sustainable? We definitely want to hear from you. We welcome the voices of our young people. We know we had the youth forum yesterday, but I hope that we will hear from the young people as well again today. And to those of you joining us online, we appreciate your participation and attention. And we're sorry you could not be here in beautiful Grenada, but we will enjoy it on your behalf. And therefore, on behalf of the CTU, I want to welcome you to the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, the longest running Internet Governance Forum in the world. And I wish you an enjoyable stay today and fruitful discussions between today and tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, when we speak of multi-stakeholder collaboration, it involves the work of the following organizations. To bring greetings from the respective partner organizations joining us online and in Grenada, we begin with our remote speakers. Mr. Albert Daniels, Senior Manager, Stakeholder Engagement for the Caribbean, ICANN. Mr. Christian O'Flaherty, Vice President, Latin America and the Caribbean of the Internet Society, ISOC. Ms. Paula Oteguy, Head of Multi-Stakeholder Engagement, LACNIC. Ms. Jennifer Chung, UNIGF MAC Chair. And we close off this important segment with Mr. Bevil Wooden, Director of Caribbean Affairs at ARIN. He's here in person. There he is. Mr. Daniels, you're up next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baptiste, and good morning. Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Carvel-Lett, and other government officials, Ambassador Aaron Moses and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Secretary General Rodney Taylor and colleagues of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, representatives of partner organizations, members of the internet community, our young people, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, it is my pleasure to bring greetings to the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. ICANN values its long-standing partnership with the CTU and the wider Caribbean internet community. For more than 2 decades, the CIGF has provided an important platform for Caribbean stakeholders to discuss issues shaping the internet and, importantly, to ensure that Caribbean voices are heard in global internet governance. This year's CIGF comes at an important time for ICANN as we implement our strategic plan 2026-2030. Our vision is to strengthen the single, globally interoperable internet for all. And for the Caribbean, I would emphasize those final two words, for all. As a region composed largely of small island developing states, we face particular challenges: small markets, geographical separation, vulnerability to natural disasters, dependence on international connectivity, and constraints in technical and human resources. But small states should not have small voices. ICANN's strategic plan recognizes the importance of inclusive participation. Strategic objective number 1, for example, focuses on evolving and promoting the multi-stakeholder model, including broadening participation from communities that have historically been underrepresented. That presents an opportunity for the Caribbean. We want to see more Caribbean governments, businesses, technical experts, civil society organizations, academics, CCTLD operators, and individual internet users participating in ICANN, not simply by attending meetings, but contributing to policy and assuming leadership roles. And we have a very timely example of that leadership. ICANN's 2026 nominating committee recently announced the selection of Nigel Harper of Barbados to the ICANN Board of Directors. This is an important achievement for Nigel and a significant moment for the Caribbean internet community. It demonstrates that there is a pathway from Caribbean participation to global internet leadership. Our region has expertise, experience, and perspectives that the global internet community needs. And that brings me to our young people. Youth engagement is specifically reflected in ICANN's 2026-2030 strategy. Under Strategic Goal 1.1, ICANN commits to fostering an appealing environment for the next generation, developing a new generation of leaders, and broadening participation from underrepresented communities. ICANN programs such as Next Gen at ICANN and the ICANN Fellowship provide pathways into the ICANN community, but regional partnerships are equally important. The Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum therefore has an important role to play. And our measure of success should not simply be how many young people attend an event. It should be whether they remain engaged, develop expertise, and eventually become engineers, entrepreneurs, policymakers, community leaders, and internet governance leaders of tomorrow. Nigel Harper's journey provides a powerful example of what is possible. Participation must also deliver practical benefits. For small island developing states, internet governance and internet resilience are closely connected. ICANN's strategic plan calls for strengthening the security and stability of the internet's unique identifier systems. For the Caribbean, this creates opportunities to collaborate on DNS security, resilience, DNSSEC, internet exchange points, root server infrastructure, IPv6, universal acceptance, technical capacity building, and other elements of a stronger regional ecosystem. These are not simply technical issues, ladies and gentlemen. When governments deliver services online, businesses depend on digital payments, schools rely on connectivity, and citizens depend on communications during emergencies, internet resilience becomes an economic and societal priority. So colleagues, 22 Caribbean Internet Governance Forums demonstrates that our region has a proud history of engagement in internet governance. Our challenge now is to turn that history into the next generation of Caribbean leadership. ICANN looks forward to continuing its partnership with the CTU, Caribbean governments, the private sector technical community, civil society, academia, and especially our youth. Together, we can ensure that CID's perspectives are heard, Caribbean technical capacity is strengthened, our internet infrastructure becomes more resilient, and our young people have a pathway from local participation to regional leadership and global impact. On behalf of ICANN, congratulations to the CTU and its partners on the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. We wish you a productive and successful CIGF. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Albert Daniels, Senior Manager, Stakeholder Engagement for the Caribbean, ICANN. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us is Grenada's Minister for Digital Transformation, Honorable Ron Redhead. Good morning, sir. Now to Mr. Christian O'Flaherty, Vice President, Latin America and the Caribbean of the Internet Society, ISOC. You're next.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, and congratulations for this great IGF to CTU and the local organizers and everyone involved. So for those of you that haven't heard about the Internet Society, this is a global organization. It's been a long-term supporter for the Caribbean IGF. And we are eager to be more effective and impactful in the Caribbean. So I really appreciate this invitation to have the opportunity to talk more about the organization. So ISOC, the Internet Society, was created many years ago, more than 30 years ago in 1992, by the Internet pioneers with the mission to keep the Internet open, secure, trustworthy, and globally connected. So that's has been the mission since the beginning. We are the organizational home for the Internet Engineering Task Force. This is where all the protocols and standards for the Internet are developed in an open and an inclusive way. Everyone can join those working groups and influence on how the Internet evolves. And the organization evolved during all those years. And we're currently focused in several programs, but I will refer to 4 of them, which are, I think, of interest for all of you. So first of all, our first program has to do with connecting the unconnected or community-centered connectivity. So we think that increasing the access and letting people connect to the internet, it's an enabler for them to improve their lives. We are convinced that the internet is a resource for good. And oftentimes, in those locations where service is not available, the reason is that the current market conditions are not suitable for those communities. So we support the creation of infrastructure built by the community, operated by the community, owned by the community. So we have to enable those places to be able to create those services. So working with governments to identify barriers, working with organizations, we provide resources for those organizations to be able to buy the equipment and create their networks. We do that through different resources. We have tools, white papers. We work with governments on their forums, trying to create the conditions in every country to make that processes, including licenses, permissions, and everything that is required to create a cooperative and community-based service provider. The second program has also to do with access, but it's more on network access and peering and interconnection infrastructure. So the internet is more efficient if there are more interconnections, and the way that networks connect, it's cheaper and easier. So the Affordable and Reliable Access Program has resources for those islands, in this case in the Caribbean, that do not have an IXP yet or are willing to create additional internet exchange points. So we support the creation of those hubs where the networks in the island can connect to and create additional interconnections among them, and also be a site to attract content, like content delivery networks and content that can reach the island without having to get that traffic through international connections. The third one has to do with open and trustworthy internet. This is where we train policymakers on how the internet works. So when parliaments discuss proposals or governments or regulators discuss regulations, they are able to decide based on how the internet works and what's feasible and what makes the internet better. So we identified topics that are required for governments and policymakers to know more about, and we train them with workshops. We invite them as fellows to international meetings where the internet topics are discussed, and we try to equip those policymakers with the tools required to make the appropriate decisions. And the fourth one is online trust and safety. This is a concern for all of us on how we as users are more exposed to threats online, and we are creating tools that are also will be available and are currently available for governments to make those internet experiences more secure and safe. We are currently working on resources for child's online and other internet related threats like scams, and those resources are all available for all of you to use, and also to have resources to advocate for those things. So how can we support your work in the islands through those resources available? Well, we do have chapters in many islands. Some of them are more active than others. So first of all, I invite all of you to join the chapters if there's one, and if there's no chapter of ISOC available in your island, so you can create one. It's not difficult. And we provide resources through those chapters to have projects and activities in the islands. We also have bigger grants. One of the organizations that belong to us is the ISOC Foundation. This is how we do our philanthropic work. And through the foundation, we provide grants on several areas. So I invite all of you to check the ISOC Foundation webpage to see which areas of support do we have. And you can, as a non-for-profit organization, you can ask for funds on any of those areas. And we also have several resources that are online and available for everyone, like toolkits or white papers. We can also provide speakers if you are organizing forums. We do have an internet measurements portal. It's called Pulse, where we do measure most of the relevant metrics on the internet, so you can compare the internet service in your island with other countries, and many other things. So feel free to reach out to the chapter, to us as a staff, or to CTU. They can contact us, and through CTU, we will be able to support your projects. So again, thank you very much for the invitation, and we wish all of you a great Caribbean IGF. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christian O'Flaherty, Vice President Latin America and the Caribbean of the Internet Society, ISOC. Now, let's meet Ms. Paula Oteguy, Head of Multi-Stakeholder Engagement, LACNIC.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Greetings to Grenada. It must be beautiful there. Let me begin by warmly congratulating the Caribbean Telecommunications Union and the government officials of Grenada for organizing this important space. The Caribbean Internet Governance Forum is not only one of the longest standing regional internet governance forums in the world, It is also a powerful example of commitment, collective vision, and continuity. Thanks to the Secretary General, Mr. Rodney Taylor, for inviting LACNIC to join these opening remarks. It is a great pleasure for me to join you today at the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, which is being held with the 5th Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum. I want to greet everyone in the room as well as those joining remotely, like me, in this occasion. It is a pleasure to take part in this important forum on the Internet governance in the Caribbean, representing LACNIC, the Internet Address Registry for Latin American and the Caribbean. I am also pleased to share this space with Mr. Albert Daniels of ICANN, Mr. Christian O'Flaherty of ISOC, Mr. Bevil Wooding of ARIN, and Mr. Jennifer Chung, UN IGF MAC Chair. So, initiatives like the Caribbean IGF can have a transformative impact on strengthening the multi-stakeholder governance model in our region. The active participation of governments, the private sector, academia, civil society, and technical community in an inclusive forum is essential to ensuring that the region's perspectives are here and considered in global discussions. Together with my colleague Carlos Martinez, Chief Technology Strategy at LACNIC, will contribute to the discussion at this valuable forum by sharing our knowledge on topics such as IPv6, RPKI, and of course, issues related to Internet governance, including valuable information for NRIs. I would like to invite you to our October event in the city of Mendoza, Argentina, which you can attend in person or online. I especially encourage you to participate in the Public Policy Forum to discuss proposals on number resources management in our region and to join us at the session on the public consultation regarding the RIR's governance document or ICP2. I would also like to invite you to visit the LACNIC campus, our online training platform, where you will find 2 English language courses with open enrollment, Introduction to IPv6 and Introduction to Internet Governance in the LAC region. Finally, I would like to mention that we have launched a new IPv6 web page where you will find useful information on how to deploy the protocol, success stories, and other important resources. So at LACNIC, we are committed to the strengthening the multi-stakeholder model for a stable and open internet. Through various initiatives, such as our support for NRIs, we continue working to promote capacity building, knowledge generation, and the active participation of our community in global decision-making processes. We are committed to continuing to support and engage with the Caribbean community as we work together toward a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable digital future. We firmly believe in the power of regional collaboration for building a better global internet. On behalf of LACNIC, thank you again for the invitation, and I look forward to a fantastic event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Paula Oteguy, Head of Multi-Stakeholder Engagement at LACNIC. Ms. Jennifer Chung is the UN IGF MAC Chair. She's next.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to be able to speak to you and invited to speak to you today at the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. In particular, the overarching theme, Connectivity to Capability, Shaping a Resilient, trusted, and innovative digital Caribbean is extremely important and timely for this year. Of course, you've heard from colleagues already and in the most illustrious introduction that it is the longest standing initiative of its kind, and it is considered the forerunner of all of the now 180 strong national, regional, sub-regional, and youth initiatives. It even predates the global IGF itself. It shows the important commitment to the multi-stakeholder model of internet governance that we see. It is also particularly important because coming out of the WSIS Plus 20 outcomes and review of last year, the global IGF now enjoys a permanent mandate that it shares, of course, across the entire network of the intersessional work of the NRIs themselves. The NRIs are where the local impacts are. We can actually see local, national, and regional implementation of these outcomes of the WSIS Plus 20 review. And the discussions and work increasingly influences national digital policy conversations, provides structured opportunities for expert and community input into policy development. This reflects a really growing recognition among policymakers and underscores the role of the NRIs to strengthening these national and regional digital ecosystems. More than ever, it is important to hear and gather the Caribbean priorities and realities as we move into the coordinated implementation of the WSIS Plus 20 outcomes and the Global Digital Compact commitments. I've had the pleasure to be invited to also speak at the CIDS IGF, which of course the Caribbean IGF plays also a very important coordinating role. It is very important to bring these perspectives, the learnings and the outputs to shape this first global IGF under its permanent mandate. Youth voices, as we heard, were yesterday, but they are the present as we hear and also will shape our shared future. I am incredibly honored to invite you all to contribute to the Global Internet Governance Forum that will be held in Nairobi, Kenya from the 14th to the 18th of December of this year. Its overarching theme is governing the internet in the age of intelligence, our shared responsibility. I'm sure all of the good learnings and discussions that happened yesterday and will be happening today and tomorrow will bring a lot of good perspective and increased learnings and shared best practices that we will enjoy and also be learning from in the global process, of course. And with that, I would like to thank all of you for inviting me to be able to speak here at this opening ceremony and wish you all a very successful CIGF. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jennifer Chung, the UN IGF MAG Chair. Ladies and gents, we close off this segment with Mr. Bevil Woodin, Director of Caribbean Affairs at ARIN. He's here.
Distinguished representatives of the government of Grenada and the Grenada NTRC, Secretary General Rodney Taylor and the hardworking team at the Caribbean Telecommunications Union partners, colleagues, members of the local and Caribbean internet community, those here in the room, those online, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a cliche to say it's my pleasure to greet you on behalf of the American Registry for Internet Numbers. It's actually my pleasure to greet you on behalf of ARIN and the wider community that you heard speaking just now, particularly at this Grenada 22nd Internet Governance Forum and the 5th Caribbean Youth Internet Governance Forum. The reason it's a pleasure is what I would like to walk you through today. There's something very special and very fitting about meeting here in Grenada, in this country, at this time. And I want to bring that out with a little walk down memory lane that gives context to the excitement that we should all feel about participating in this year's Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. Grenada has long been a place where the Caribbean has tested ideas, built capacity, and connected local talent to regional and global opportunity. Let me just repeat that again. Grenada has long been a place. It's not always recognized, it's not always highly acknowledged, but it is a fact. In 2006, Grenada actually hosted the second Caribbean Internet Governance Forum here in Grenada, alongside the very first Global United Nations Internet Governance Forum. Over the years, Grenada has hosted Caribbean ICT roadshows, ICT Week events, Caribnog events, CARPIF gatherings. It has hosted one of the first mobile application development workshops in the region, English and other speakings, and the historic recording of CXC's first ever completely video-based syllabus orientation for the CAPE Digital Media Syllabus. How many of you knew that? Right here in Grenada. So when I say it is my pleasure, understand the context. It was the first country, and you'll hear this several times in this event, it was the first country in the English-speaking Caribbean to launch an internet exchange point, GREX, establishing what is now considered to be a pioneering model for local internet infrastructure development, not just in the region, but in small states and small locales around the world. More recently, ARIN and the government of Grenada and other groups participated in the Connected Caribbean Summit in December of 2025 here in St. George's in this very hall. This event brought together regional leaders together in the face of mounting threats and challenges to the Caribbean, seemingly on every front. And I want to bring this context to you so you can understand the backdrop for our discussions over the next period of time at this year's forum. So you have pioneering technical work, you have real capacity building, you have genuine move beyond talk into action development of physical infrastructure. You have the gathering of regional leaders to confront the very real and very challenging contexts and conditions that the Caribbean finds itself in at this time. And this country has been a nexus through it all. A key feature of the gathering at CCS 2025 was the Justice Forum, exploring the increasing role of technology in justice delivery. And I think we're all aware of the region's concerns about rising crime and mounting challenges, not just in the physical realm, but online as well as it relates to cybersecurity. And another very important dimension of that gathering in December was the first ever CCS Next Gen Forum, which connected our young people to regional leadership and global digital opportunity. Each of these initiatives, from the early years of the internet when mobile was now coming into the region, to this place that we have found ourselves in where the Caribbean has very big questions about its own connectivity as a bloc, as well as concerns about the mounting impact of technology on society. Each of these initiatives has helped develop local and Caribbean talent. Each of these initiatives has helped to foster policy positions and leadership. And importantly, each of these initiatives has helped to catalyze national and regional development in tangible ways. These aren't forums for us to simply talk. It has to be connected to action. And the history and the role that Grenada has played in that history shows a commitment for translating talk into action. The theme for this year's forum is from connectivity to capability. And like the CIGF and like the CTU, ARIN's commitment to the Caribbean is grounded in that very same objective. And I hope you all understand the criticality of the issues that will be discussed in this year's forum. It comes down to this, and this is where I want to leave you with this welcoming remark. It comes down to seeing the relationship between infrastructure, digital services, sovereignty, dependency, and consequence. There is much at stake. These aren't theoretical or academic conversations about where are we at a region and what are we going to do with internet governance. These are matters that determine the development trajectory of our nations. These sessions are designed to increase awareness that Caribbean internet governance can only be shaped through deliberate choices about design, about investment, about security, about capability, and about coordination. We can't do it by ourselves, for ourselves. We have to do it together. And that makes this year's forum, this 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, vital, because the more widely this understanding is shared among the technical communities, the policymakers, the regulators, the researchers, the investors, and civil society, the stronger our collective capacity is to support the development and resilience of the Caribbean itself. And I hope you know that, not to support the development and resilience of the Caribbean internet, to support the development and resilience of the Caribbean itself. For ARIN, for CTU, for the organizations that you heard from in this welcoming session, meaningful Caribbean participation is about Caribbean people having knowledge, and on top of the knowledge, confidence, and on top of the confidence, institutions, and on top of the institutions, technical capability sufficient to shape the decisions that affect our future, and to translate that participation into tangible national and regional transformation. That was the context for my saying, it is a pleasure to be here. We have a track record to refer to. We have actual, measurable, tangible achievements to refer to. We have references that still live and contribute to our development, our security, and our prosperity to refer to. And now we have, in this room, and for those online, the opportunity to add our voices to real work that contributes to shaping our future together. Congratulations to the CTU, congratulations to the government of Grenada, and to all of our partners. We look forward to continuing that great work as one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wooden. All right, so it is safe to say, ladies and gentlemen, that most of you missed Spice Mass 2026, considering, of course, our online and in-person audiences. But don't worry, we still have a taste of Grenada for you. Savor Grenada's culture, introducing One Unit Dance Grenada. Enjoy.
Why you know about the Java Island? Is 100 million in the band. They say we don't have no limit. Any faith we just crash it. They can't understand it. Why? Them can't play our malamas and we Greens people we bad. Nobody else blacker than we when we play each other. Greens people, yeah, we bad like that. I tell you, I swear they go tell you that. Don't in Greens. Job down in Greens. Every faith you know we must show bad down in Greens. Fix up a plate of eye long and we good down in Greens. Everything is a whole mood. The life so different down here. Everything in the atmosphere. When we touch a fed though, we just turn it up to a different level. Yeah, we ting up there. I say yeah, we ting up. When it comes to fed the style we know it. Them can't play a madamas and we Greens people we bad. Nobody else blacker than we when we play each other. Greens people, yeah, we bad like that. I tell you, I swear they go tell you that. Down in Greens, we don't joke around with the job down in Greens. Every faith you know we must show bad down in Greens. Fix up a plate of eye long and we good down in Greens. Everything is a whole mood. Don't come in the job if you don't black. You too clean mood with that job can't play without the whole I know. Chainer to drag and closer to dagger. Jog, hula, hula. Greens people mad oh. Them can't play a madamas and we Greens people we bad. Nobody else blacker than we when we play each other. Greens people, yeah, we bad like that. I tell you, I swear they go tell you sopa down in Greens. Fix up a plate of eye long and we good down in Greens. Everything is a whole mood. Grenada full of vibes. That's right. Carry cool, have it nice. PT Matnick, they don't play too. Best part. When the gas in our weaving and we link up on the bin, we go show them what the Greens do. We bad. Them can play our madamas and we Greens people, we bad. Nobody else blacker than we when we play it up. Greens people, yeah, we bad like that. I tell you, as whoever they go tell you that. Down in Greens, we don't joke around with the job down in Greens. Every faith you know we must show back down in Greens. Fix up a plate of eye long and we good down in Greens. Everything is a whole mood.
carry the land which we came from. We live as Africans.
Bí a ṣe ń lọ, àgbọ̀ nǹkan tẹ́ni bí ń sọ. Alelele, zoom zoom zoom. Alelele, zoom zoom zoom. Alelele, zoom zoom zoom. Alelele, zoom zoom zoom. Zoom zoom zoom. Wọ́n ní bó nílùú pẹ̀lú ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ máa jó fújì. Alelele, 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 alelele. As we move it, ayé tó tó ayé kámárà. Bí a ṣe ń lọ, come on, we keep moving. Come on, alelele, zoom zoom zoom, alelele, zoom zoom zoom, alelele, zoom zoom zoom, alelele, zoom zoom zoom. Bí a bá ń lọ, bí a ṣe ń lọ, àgbọ̀ nǹkan tẹ́ni bí ń sọ.
Good morning. I'll try that again. Good morning. Okay, that's better. All right, let me see some smiles because y'all look good. Y'all look real sharp. Ladies, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to need you to interact with me for a little bit. Yeah? Do you think that's possible? I'm going to need your vocal ability for a while. It shouldn't be that taxing or, difficult or complicated. Yeah? All right, so let's try this. Boy, come down, boy. All right, so I sing in, and then you have to sing after me. All right? Yeah. Go do that? Let's try it again. Boy, come down, boy. I do high? Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. Play like a soft. I don't hear them. I only see them out moving, but I don't hear them. So you go try it again. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. All right, that's not bad. I'm still giving you like a 75. That's not bad. So I'm gonna add our next little piece now, but you just have to stay with it. All right, you can do that? Yeah. And then once I get it and it's satisfactory, we go pick it up. All right? Let's try it again. Hey! Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. I see the rain coming over there. Boy, come down. I see the rain coming over there. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. I see the rain coming over there. I see the rain coming over there. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. I see the rain coming over there. I see the rain coming over there. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. I see the rain coming over there. I see the rain coming over there. Boy, come down, boy. Boy, come down, boy. I see the rain coming over there. I see the rain coming over there. nutmeg. That was needed. Nutmeg, cocoa, nutmeg and bananas too. Nutmeg, cocoa, nutmeg, clove and cinnamon. Nutmeg, cocoa, nutmeg and bananas too. Nutmeg, cocoa, nutmeg, clove and cinnamon. Grenada man nice you are. Oh, Grenada man nice so. That you? Belle drama. Belle drama. Anna Mario. Galeadoya. Belle drama. Anna Mario Galedo, Getty Bella. Anna Mario Galedo. Mo belle for Grenada, mo belle. Mo belle for. Belle Choma roll, Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle Choma. Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Belle Choma roll, Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle Choma roll. Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle Choma. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Belle Choma roll, Anan Mario Galedo, head the belle Choma roll. Anan Mario Galedo, head the belle Choma. Unde ah. Unde ah. Aye ayo. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Belle Choma roll, Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle Choma roll. Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Oh belle from Grenada, oh belle. Belle Choma roll, Anan Mario Galedo, hear the belle Choma.
A taste of Grenada. Talk about a taste One Unit Dance Grenada, under the creative directorship of Shanika Gibbs and artistic directors Liana Joseph and Kamira Phillip. And of course, the drummers, Lion Pride Percussions. Absolutely amazing. A round of applause once more. Listen, I've already said, I want to beat drums just so in my next life. Amazing, incredibly fantastic. Okay, right, so at this juncture, I invite to the fore Honorable Ron Redhead, Minister for Digital Transformation right here in Grenada, to address you at this time. The feature address. I think it'll just for you at the back.
Okay.
Yes, there you are.
There we are. Technology. Yes. Ms. Cavallet, Secretary to the Cabinet, Ambassador ARIN Moses, Mr. Rodney Taylor, Secretary General, Caribbean Telecommunications Union, and other members of CTU, Mr. Vincent Roberts, Chairman of the NTRC, and other commissioners, other government officials, telecoms service providers, delegates of the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Maybe we could have kept the entertainment a little while longer. And once again, welcome to Grenada. We are gathering at an interesting moment in our history. Technology is moving quickly. Artificial intelligence is advancing almost every day around the world. Businesses are changing. Governments are changing the ways in which they operate. The way our children learn is changing. And in many instances, technology is moving faster than the institution responsible for creating them. That creates a challenge. But for the Caribbean, it also creates a massive opportunity. The internet has changed the meaning of geography, and I want to tell you a little about that change. A young Grenadian sitting in St. George, Northeast, can develop an idea today and potentially sell that idea to someone in Toronto, London, Lagos, or New York City. A small business in the Caribbean can reach customers far beyond its projections because of the vast nature of digital markets. A student can enter a classroom without physically leaving home. A government service can be available at midnight rather than only between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., as we are accustomed to in Grenada. And that is the opportunity before us. That is why we believe, with conviction, that the Caribbean cannot continue to see itself only as a consumer of technology created somewhere else. We must become creators ourselves. We must build our own platforms, develop our own solutions, and give our people the freedom and the confidence to innovate. Because the future of technology should not simply arrive in the Caribbean. Some of that future must be built here by Caribbean hands, by Caribbean minds, and Caribbean imaginations. We can export ideas. Our size should not become an excuse for limiting our ambition. In fact, in a digital economy, talent can sometimes trump territory. That is why the theme of this forum, connectivity to capability, shaping a resilient, trusted, and innovative digital Caribbean is so important. Because the future is not simply going to arrive perfectly designed for us in the Caribbean. We are not talking about Christopher Columbus. We have to shape it ourselves. And that begins first with the question of access. There are still too many families across our region for whom reliable internet access is still expensive. There are still communities where connectivity is inconsistent and difficult to achieve. There are still young people with enormous ability who simply do not have the same digital opportunities as someone living somewhere else in the world. And that matters. Because today, access to connectivity increasingly determines access to education, employment, entrepreneurship, and opportunity. So when we talk about digital inclusion, we are talking about economic inclusion. We are talking about social inclusion. We are talking about whether a human being gets a fair chance to exist in a modern society, that whole question of access. And the same principle must guide how we transform a country. For me, the simplest test of digital governance transformation is this: does it make our lives easier? A citizen should not have to take an entire day away from his or her work to conduct a simple government transaction. Someone should not have to move from office to office carrying the same documents for approval. Governments must become interoperable. An entrepreneur should not have to navigate unnecessary bureaucracy when technology can make the process faster and more transparent. That is what transformation should mean. Technology must respect people's time. It must reduce frustration. It must create opportunity. And if citizens cannot feel the difference, then we still have much, much more work to be done. That is the approach we are taking here in Grenada. Digital transformation is central to the kind of country we are trying to build. A modern economy, a more responsive government, a workforce prepared for the future with young people equipped to compete globally, with infrastructure capable of keeping our country functioning when disaster strikes. But transformation also requires trust. And that brings us to the second question, cybersecurity. Every service we put online creates convenience. It can also create vulnerability. Every database we connect creates opportunity. It also creates risk. Cybersecurity, therefore, cannot remain a conversation that only happens inside an IT department or a ministry of ICT. It is a national and regional issue we must all confront. It is an economic issue, and it is quickly becoming a public trust issue. Because citizens will not embrace digital government if they do not trust it. Businesses will not invest confidently in digital systems if those systems are vulnerable too. And our economies cannot become increasingly reliant on digital technology without becoming increasingly serious about combating cybersecurity. This is one area where regional cooperation becomes essential. Cyber threats do not stop at an immigration office. They do not need a passport, and they certainly do not respect national borders. So our response cannot entirely be national either. We must share information, share expertise, build regional capacity, train our people in this area to strengthen our institutions to withstand those types of shocks as well. And when one Caribbean state learns something useful in this field, we should ensure the rest of the region can benefit from that knowledge. The same thinking must guide our approach to our third concern. That is the concern of artificial intelligence. AI represents tremendous opportunity, as you know, but we should neither fear nor worship AI. We should understand it, and most importantly, we should prepare our people to use it, which in turn should help us manage it. The countries that benefit most from artificial intelligence will not necessarily be the countries with the largest populations. They will be the countries that develop talent, create the right environment for innovation, and give their people the confidence to experiment. So that is where our young people now become critical. We should not prepare Caribbean youth simply to apply for jobs in a digital economy. We should prepare them to create those jobs, to build the companies, to develop software, to design platforms to solve Caribbean problems. Imagine what becomes possible when a Grenadian developer can access the tools to begin building solutions for agriculture, or in any part of the region where we are developing technology and applications to solve problems using AI. Then, and only then, we are transforming the region. That is the Caribbean digital economy I want us to imagine this morning. And for everyone to benefit from this effort, inclusion must remain at the center and the heart of what we do. A digital Caribbean cannot leave behind persons with disabilities, and you heard about it yesterday's session. It cannot leave behind rural communities, older citizens, or families with lower incomes. And it certainly cannot leave women and girls outside the industries and leadership positions that will define their future. Technology, therefore, should widen opportunity, not entrench inequality. Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments when regions must make a choice about how they see themselves in the global village. The Caribbean can decide what we are simply seeking to do. We can agree that we are too small, too fragmented, resource-constrained, or we can recognize something better. We are a region filled with creative people, adaptable people, educated people, entrepreneurial people, people who have spent generations finding solutions under difficult circumstances. Innovation is already part of who we are. Our task now is to connect that creativity to technology with the capital, skills, and opportunity necessary to transforming our society. And government has a responsibility to help create that environment for digital transformation to thrive. We must regulate where the public interest requires regulation, protect citizens where protection is necessary, and we must also give innovators enough room and spaces to innovate. Getting that balance right will require a measure of genuine conversation. It will require experimentation in some instances, and occasionally it will require us to change our mindset. That is exactly why forums such as this matter. The Caribbean, as you heard from Mr. Wooding, does not need another conference that simply produces a beautiful declaration in Montrouge. Rouge. We need practical outcomes, partnerships, cold hard cash in some instances to invest in the technology. We need regional systems that actually work, not talk, but work. And we need ideas that eventually make their way from the conference room into the lives of ordinary Caribbean people. Let that be our ambition over the next few days. Because we are many islands, but increasingly we occupy the same digital space. The same cyber threats can affect us all. And many of the same challenges globally confront us as well. There is therefore tremendous power in working together. Let us build a Caribbean where any child can continue to learn from anywhere, where governments move faster, where citizens can trust the systems they use, where innovation is encouraged, and where geography never determines someone's opportunity. We should not be spectators in the digital future we seek to create. We need to be a part of it, and most importantly, we should help build it. Build it here. Build it together. One Caribbean, the United States of the Caribbean, and build it in a way that reflects who we are as a Caribbean people and a region. Ladies and gentlemen, this forum should be a success only if we make the determination to create it for that success. And therefore, I encourage all of us, and in particular, our young people, to pledge not just their support to utilizing technology, but to pledge their commitment to ensure that the value of technology in the Caribbean is not misused, but is used and harnessed to save our people and to build our region into what we want it to become. Thank you very much, and may we enjoy this forum.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ron Redhead, Grenada's Minister for Digital Transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, in everything we give thanks. And to do just that, I invite forward Mr. Nigel Cassimire, Deputy Secretary General of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union.
Honorable Minister Redhead, Cabinet Secretary and other government officials, Grenada's ambassadors that are present, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasant duty basically to pass a vote of thanks for all that we've seen this morning and in fact for this event as a whole. First, I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister Ron Redhead, Grenada's Minister for Digital Transformation, for his presence yesterday and today, and hopefully tomorrow as well, and for his inspiring address. I noted some of the themes you mentioned: inclusiveness, inclusive connectivity, cybersecurity, AI, and you ended with One Caribbean. And in fact, the CTU's new vision in our strategic plan is One Digital Caribbean. So it aligns perfectly with the CTU's own vision at present. And we are working to harmonize our membership to move forward in a united way. And you started also by saying size should not limit our ambition. And I think that's a key point that we want to take away and embody in the work that we do. Thank you very much, Minister. I'd also like to say thanks to the wider government of Grenada and the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, the NTRC. Thank you very much for your partnership for this event and for your hospitality that has been demonstrated so far. Thank you very much, in fact, for the wonderful cultural welcome that we enjoyed. We missed your carnival, as you said, but at least we all got a taste of Grenada. I'd like to say thanks as well to all our perennial internet governance partners that joined us this morning and brought greetings. The Internet Society, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, ARIN, the American Registry for Internet Numbers, LACNIC, Latin American and Caribbean Internet Addresses Registry, the UN Internet Governance Forum, represented by the UN IGF MAG Chair today. And we haven't heard from them yet, but I'd want to say thanks in advance to as well to our regional IGFs, from whom we'll hear in the next session. The CTU looks forward to continued partnership with all of these organizations. In fact, next year we'll probably be in another island, but I'm sure with a One Digital Caribbean mindset that we'll have continued participation from Grenada and its institutions. I'd also like to thank our CTU-SG and the Secretariat staff and our youth who are joining us in making this event possible. I'd like to thank everybody here who has gathered in this room. Some have traveled from around the Caribbean and maybe even further, on all the persons who are taking the time online to join us and contribute. I'd like to encourage all of you to engage in the proceedings, particularly as we undertake the workshop type activities and forum type activities this afternoon and tomorrow, because that's really what we want to, that's really the purpose of the forum. The forum is the gathering, and we've made the gathering in order to get the information and feedback from you, the inputs from you that would guide us in advising our governments and regional stakeholders in moving forward in internet governance in all the areas that the minister mentioned. Remember, our theme is connectivity to capability. We are trying to build the capability of persons in our region to shape the resilient, trusted, and innovative digital Caribbean we all want. So thank you very much to all, and we look forward to a great event and great outcomes over these next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassimire. Right, so here's what's going to happen at the moment. We're going to have some official group photos. And so for the first session, I invite on stage Honorable Ron Redhead, Mr. Rodney Taylor, Mr. Vincent Roberts, and Ms. Cavillette. Invite you forward on stage. First official group photo. Welcome back to the 22nd Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, live from St. George, Grenada, presented by the Government of Grenada and the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. I now invite Ms. Shanea Lewis, Policy Analyst of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, to the stage to give us reflections on CIGF 22. Ms. Lewis will then facilitate the next segment on national, regional, and global internet governance reports. Joining Ms. Lewis online will be Mr. Kevin Swift, Trinidad and Tobago MAG, Mr. Max Larson Henry, Haiti IGF, Mr. Marcellus Constance, St. Vincent and the Grenadines IGF, Mr. Agre Marsh, Guyana IGF. There'll be a video recording from the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Communications, Cuba IGF. Also, Ms. Lillian Chamorro Rojas, Coordinator, LAC IGF. Mr. Tracy Hackshaw, Small Island Development States, SIDS IGF. And not forgetting Mr. Anya Gengo, UNIG, Miss Anga Gengo, UNIGF Secretariat. For now, it's Shanea Lewis to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Just waiting on my presentation. So yesterday, we heard about internet governance, and today we're going to look specifically at the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. So the CIGF is the world's first and longest running regional internet governance forum. It's a non-hierarchical, multi-stakeholder forum that was convened by the CTU on request from CARICOM to address the region's internet governance issues in the context of the World Summit on the Information Society. First convened in 2005, the CIGF has gone on to be held each year annually to now have 22 editions. One of the outcomes of the CIGF is the Caribbean Internet Governance Policy Framework document, which is now in its 4th edition, which was published in 2024. In 2025, the CIGF held its first bilingual forum in Cuba. To date, the CIGF has been held in 13 countries regionally. Some of the achievements include the policy framework document, which is particularly significant as it's a regional harmonization framework that predates similar documents in other regions. The IXP workshops have contributed to improved local internet routing, reducing traffic that previously had to leave the region unnecessarily, and most notably, youth engagement. Our youth forum is now recognized by the UN IGF as a national and regional initiative all on its own. Caribbean representation in global processes has strengthened thanks to coordinated CIGF preparation. And this has been done at the UN IGF, ICANN, ITU meetings, as well as in the WSIS Plus 20 and Global Digital Compact processes, which you will hear more about this afternoon. So, at the 21st CIGF, held in Cuba, our first bilingual forum in one of CTU's Spanish-speaking countries. We had high participation in hybrid format with 77 persons present in person. The 4th Youth IGF was also co-located, addressing AI, cybersecurity, women's empowerment, and youth perspectives on global processes. Cuba was actually highlighted as a model for women in ICT, with 70% of its telecom workforce and 71% of executive roles being held by women. If we look at the statistics, you'll recall yesterday hearing Multistakeholder. The forum is held for our multi-stakeholders. And looking at the sector distribution, most of the attendees are from the private sector. Typically, at these forums, we have more men than women. However, if you look at this distribution, you'll notice a very sharp peak. In 2022, we launched the Youth IGF alongside the Small Island Developing States Internet Governance Forum. And since then, our attendance has been higher than previous years. And this has been due to our co-location with the Youth IGF, meaning the youth's attendance at the forum has pushed our numbers way above what they previously were. Now, with all our successes, there are still some challenges. Limited national implementation, where regional policy recommendations don't always translate to national action. There's a disconnect between the IGF's regional outputs and real change on the ground. There are capacity and resource gaps where many Caribbean states lack the human capital, institutional structures, and financial resources needed to effectively participate and implement internet governance priorities. Visibility at government level. While the internet governance remains a niche area for many governments, limiting political will and budgetary commitment. We have started working with governments more closely. For example, here in Grenada, we work very closely with NTRC. Duplication of efforts. Without strong coordination mechanism, regional organizations sometimes work in parallel rather than in concert, diluting impact. Lastly, digital and AI divides. Broadband penetration at 56% with aging infrastructure and limited AI research capacity leaves the Caribbean at risk of being left behind in the global digital economy. Now, given these challenges, we still look ahead to how we can strengthen national IGFs, which is one of the goals of the CIGF. We encourage each country to create a national IGF that would enhance that country's participation at the global forum, as well as address the immediate IG needs. We update the Caribbean Internet Governance Policy Framework, and we will be doing that this afternoon to address AI governance, data governance, cybersecurity, and emerging digital harms. And we will also be looking at incorporating the outputs of the recent report of the Caribbean AI Task Force. The upcoming the Global Voices. So at the end of last year, there was a WSIS Plus 20 outcome document. This is a multilateral agreement that was signed by heads of state. And this afternoon, we will actually be looking at the implementation that comes with the WSIS Plus 20, as well as the Global Digital Compact. The Caribbean must show up and be prepared with these coordinated positions. The Global Digital Compact and the WSIS Plus 20 review outcome will impact our region significantly. One of the things we were afforded was the ability to make input to these documents, which were reflected in the signed resolution. On youth and women, the CYIGF is growing. And at the upcoming ICT Week, we have both a women's leadership seminar as well as the annual Youth Network meeting. On digital resilience, we learned last year that telemedicine, AI readiness, broadband infrastructure, and data centers are all investment priorities. On harmonization, we looked at the African Union's digital framework as a model. The Caribbean can draw on this experience to accelerate its own regulatory convergence, which is critical for digital sovereignty and investment readiness. So hearing this, you might be wondering, what can you do? You can get involved. All our stakeholder voices are invited, and you're essential. The forum is for everyone, whether you're in policy, whether you're technical, whether you're finance, whether you're simply an internet user. It's for you. And we encourage you to participate actively. So, if you registered for the forum, either to be in person or online, you would have received an email from me this morning with several links in it to documents. We encourage you to review those documents and make your inputs. And as time progresses, you would actually see that your inputs are reflected in the final publications. You can follow internet governance developments by staying updated at the CTU's website and our partner websites like ARIN, LACNIC, ICANN, ITU. Also, the LACIGF. You can embed the policy framework recommendations, taking them and translating them into national ICT policy. And if you have any ideas or comments, you can share them at CIGF@ctu.int. And we welcome all comments, feedbacks, and suggestions to the IGF. Each year, we do a call for topics. So the topics that you have been hearing today have been suggested by you. And finally, you can champion inclusion. Advocate for women and youth. Advocate for their full participation in digital governance here, regionally, and internationally. Because together, we can build a connected, resilient, and inclusive digital Caribbean. Thank you. So now, having heard from the regional standpoint, we're going to take a look at some of the national IGFs. First, we have Mr. Kevin Swift representing the Trinidad and Tobago MAG.
Thank you very much, Shanea. Let me just share my slides, if you can give me 1 second. Okay. All right, I'm going to try again to share. I think I have a bit of technical difficulty, but we will overcome that. Great. Can you see my screen? Hello? Hi?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Excellencies, the Honorable Ron Redhead, Minister of Digital Transformation of Grenada, other distinguished guests, colleagues, our online audience, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm here on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group, TTBAG, to report on how we delivered our 10th National IGF this January. This is a practitioner's account of what worked, what we learned, and what might be useful as you plan and sustain your own national processes. TTIGF 2026 ran on 29th and 30th of January in Trinidad and Tobago as a hybrid event under a very intentional theme titled The Innovation Paradox, Balancing Progress with Responsibility and Resilience. Some headline numbers before I get into the story. This was our 10th edition, a decade of national IGF practice in Trinidad and Tobago. It ran over 2 days, hybrid, with 8 distinct program segments, 5 expert panels, an open forum, a dedicated youth forum, and special presentation from the Caribbean Telecommunications Union on their AI task force. Over 40 secondary schools took part in the youth forum alone, and across the 2 days, we had more than 30 named speakers, panelists, and moderators on the program, 8 of whom were TTMAG directors themselves sharing sessions. The theme, as previously mentioned, the innovation paradox, framed everything. How do we move fast on AI and digital transformation without losing sight of responsibility and resilience? And we'll see this tension as it shows up in the preceding slides. Our objectives weren't reinvented for 2026. They follow directly from the UN Secretary General's mandate for NRIs, which are the national, regional, sub-regional, and youth IGF initiatives. Open dialogue, sharing best practice, surfacing emerging issues, capacity building, and inclusive multi-stakeholder discussion. What changed year to year is how we operationalize that mandate. For 2026, we organized the entire program around one question: how do we accelerate innovation, especially AI, without losing responsibility, resilience, or inclusion? You can see the logic on the right here on the screen. Our objectives shape the program design. The program brought in a wide stakeholder base, and that engagement is what ultimately produced the outcomes that I'll walk through later. So we are working on this question of how do we shape this AI? It's something that lives with us without losing responsibility. So this is a further insight into our agenda. What stands out is that we ran this largely in-house with our own directors chairing or moderating sessions. We're able to keep the forum affordable and build institutional knowledge. Day one opened with keynotes from Mr. Shengetai Masango of the UN IGF Secretariat and Ms. Paula Oteguy of LACNIC, giving the program international grounding before we moved on to 3 back-to-back panels and an open forum. Day two opened with our Minister of Education and then handed over almost the entire morning to a youth forum that's moderated by the students themselves, not adults. And special kudos must go out to RSC, a sense of ICANN, which is a tech club here in Trinidad and Tobago, for providing the additional coordination support. That is a deliberate choice, and I'll get back to that. We close today with 2 more panels and a regional session on the CTU AI Task Force. A few things stood out beyond the agenda itself. The youth forum wasn't a token session with these 40 schools that work through real material on AI companionship, algorithmic influence, and digital literacy. The students themselves produced a practical tool, Stop, Think, Choose, Check, for pausing before posting and engaging online. This raises the responsibility that they have when they are interacting with digital media. The mental health panel didn't stay abstract either. Our clinicians, Mr. Brandon Subero and Dr. Miranda Foon, spoke plainly about how engagement-driven algorithms interact with brain chemistry and pushed organizations towards real policies like mental health leave. On the digital divide, we had actual figures on the table, about $50 million a year from our Universal Service Fund, over 230 public sites connected via TT Wi-Fi, and a new digital inclusion survey being planned for 2026 to update the 2021 National Digital Inclusion Survey. And regionally, the Caribbean AI Task Force used our forum to test its interim recommendations before finalizing the declaration, the June declaration that is. So the TTIGF is functioning as part of the regional AI governance pipeline and not just as an event. Move on. And here, for you to get a good sense, these are the takeaways after these 2 days of discourse. This gives you a high-level summary as to what those 2 days unpacked. Firstly, AI is compressed in the cyber threat timeline. Attacks that once took months now unfold in weeks, and while Caribbean regulatory frameworks remain reactive, calibrated to yesterday's frameworks. Now, this isn't just the Caribbean dilemma, this is an all of the world dilemma where our frameworks are not quick enough to adapt to what AI presents. What this means is that the onus is on us to continue acting and understanding that there's a no stopping rule when it comes to AI. Legacy operational technology across critical infrastructure was never built to withstand AI-enabled attacks. Segmentation, engineered detection, and human-in-the-loop oversight matter more than tool acquisition. So I'll move on for the sake of time. No single agency owns AI or cyber risk nationally or regionally. Resilience depends on cross-sector coordination and real-time information sharing, not the strength of any one player. And this dovetails well with the message that was delivered by the Deputy SG on yesterday, in that this is a shared responsibility as we understand what the definition of IG is. It's about all of the actors in their respective roles and responsibilities acting towards one thing. So that is applicable even when we talk about AI. AI functions as a governance amplifier. It magnifies the effects of good or poor decision-making rather than replacing either, making transformation a mindset challenge, not a procurement one. And as many of us in the room have been in these quarters for quite some time, transformation is a people issue and not a technology issue. People must be at the forefront of what we intend to transform. The persistent misconception that AI requires expensive cutting-edge technology. Most value comes from finding the right problem and data first, avoiding non-tailored global solutions. We have solutions that must be tailored and must be built on our own data and our own situations. Regional AI governance is moving from principle to practice, and herein we see the AI Task Force recommendations, which is now a declaration of June, and a signal that states must engage now to shape rules and not inherit them. Mr. Bevil spoke about the participation of Caribbean constituents in this affair, and this holds true when it comes to AI. It is not something that we simply receive. A couple other high-level takeaways when it comes to inclusion and resilience. The Trinidad and Tobago digital divide has shifted from connectivity, which is now near universal, to affordability, literacy, and inclusion, with the unbanked correlating to digital literacy and cybercrime exposure. The question of this digital divide is not anything, again, about haves and have-nots when it comes to technology and access. It's about that potential of what we can do with that technology and access. And of course, in treating with questions of the divide, we have to consider who our unreached or most vulnerable groups are in this equation. I think someone mentioned by the Honorable Minister, we have to think about the people with disabilities and of course, the elderly and the young, of which they have a high exposure to some of the ills of digital transformation. Fear of job displacement and cultural resistance, not lack of access, or significant breaks on adoption. Transformation depends on psychological safety and human-centered design. That's a thread from a previous point as well. Constant connectivity and algorithm-driven engagement carry a measurable mental health cost. Anxiety, addiction, and blurred online real-world lines, and the policy has not caught up with. The mental health segment spoke clearly about people who interacted with AI agents believing that they were their friends. And this is particularly an acute problem for children and very vulnerable people who are able to make the distinction. Youth already inhabit AI and algorithmic environments rather than simply using them. I'm just move on in the interest of time. Over-reliance on AI reinforces confirmation bias and erodes independent problem solving, underscoring critical thinking and AI literacy as a foundational, not optional skills. So we have become so dependent now that we trust everything that ChatGPT says. It's our new Google, and of course it cannot lie. We here must always safeguard ourselves and do the due diligence and do the critical thinking when it comes to these tools, which can generally help us, but we cannot hand over our thinking to AI tools. And of course, the innovation paradox, the region cannot out-innovate its way past resilience gaps. Capacity building and governance must scale alongside AI adoption, not trail behind it. This is a no-stopping rule. AI is here to be with us, and therefore we have to be able to address gaps and scale them. This next slide that I have here, it really deals with the recurrent trends or the interweaving trends, I would say, across all of the sessions that we had. And for instance, it shows us the lessons that were proposed after discussing these trends. So when we talk about the fragmented mandates for cyber AI risk, we had responses from the regulators, CSIRT, ISOC, etc. And we saw that the national IGF itself could be a coordination mechanism. So the issue here is that for all of us to understand, this is no longer a question of a telecoms operator and telecom service providers. This is much wider, much more sophisticated and multifaceted than that. And therefore, there needs to be some forum or some way of addressing those gaps. And that is where the national IGF is a great coordination point for identifying the gaps, first of all, and being able to start addressing those gaps. The Digital Inclusion Survey, this was flagged. We know that it's a refresh for 2026 here in Trinidad and Tobago. And the lesson here is that it must be an evidence-based advocacy at least a standing data refresh commitment and not one-off surveys. What we need to look at here is a sort of systematization of our digital inclusion surveys, and that goes beyond the basic metrics that are already captured by internet service providers. To engage 40 plus schools without losing depth, that peer moderation, the ground rules, that was a key response here. And honestly, folks, the youth here, they were not innocent bystanders. They actively took control of the entire forum from start to finish, actively debated, actively shared, they were actively engaged and used their agency in this forum that we had with the TTIGF this year. So youth engagement scales when it is peer-led and structurally bounded, right? And last but not least, to sustain a volunteer-run national IGF, we had formalized a 3-year CTU TTMAG partnership that runs from 2026 to 2028 for logistics and administrative support. So part of the hybrid experience is that the in-room segment of it took place at the CTU's headquarters. And the lesson here is that institutional partnerships turn an annual volunteer effort into a resourced multi-year program. It really gave us the sort of backing that is needed to continue to engage in a multifaceted way and in a meaningful way. Just a quick note on the partnership. So we announced on the 30th of January that we'll have this partnership for the administrative, logistical, and facilities-based support for future IGF cycles. This partnership is intended to continue strengthening what we do after 10 years. And of course, what we have here again are some of the impacts. As mentioned before, the UN Secretary General, IGF Secretary General, sorry, Mr. Masango, named the TTIGF as a best practice model for national, regional, multi-stakeholder engagement. We have this TTIGF being a real input into regional AI policy and, of course, a strengthened youth pipeline at the end of this experience and to go forward for future experiences. What worked? We had our moderators coming from the TTMAG Board of Directors. It was expert-led without external facilitation costs, and this makes it sustainable. What we learned in IGF 2026, a national IGF can function as a missing coordination point for fragmented cyber AI mandates. And this was said repeatedly by our panelists. What we'll carry forward is this institutional backing of with the CTU. And it should have been pursued in earlier cycles, but that does not lose from what we can do in the future editions. And what we can take forward is this peer-led youth engagement, which was highly successful. The 40 schools, the students met in their computer labs, and you can easily anticipate that there were, I think, between 20 to 40 students in each lab. That's a considerable amount. And that was entirely led by the youth themselves. So it's not the adults who are running a youth forum, it's the youths who have been given the opportunity and the tools to run this forum. So I will close here. I will just simply say, with a decade of practice from delivery to youth engagement, to coordination and convening, we want to offer this to other communities as a reference, but not as a template. And the last note is that we are already advertising our TTIGF for next year. It will be on the 28th and 29th of January. And it is under the theme of securing our digital future in the age of AI, governance, innovation, implementation, and resilience. We recently held our call for topics, which was just closed about a week ago. We have had 19 contributions. This continues to be a bottom-up, fully engaged process, and we look forward to continuing this discourse and having a real impact on national and regional policy through this activity. So without further ado, I will stop there. I don't know if there are any questions within the room.
I see no questions, so thank you very much, Kevin.
Okay, thank you very much, Shanea, and thanks to everyone here.
And now we hear from Mr. Max Larson Henry from the Haiti IGF.
Thank you, Shanea. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, dear panelists, dear friends. It is an honor for me to be here with you today. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about the Haitian internet ecosystem, what the Internet Society in Haiti has been doing during this year, which set the foundation for the local IGF and the Internet Governance School to be held in October this year. So Haiti continues to face significant challenges regarding digital infrastructure, access, affordability, cybersecurity, and digital literacy. That's a lot of challenges, but we understand that those create opportunities for innovation. I would say frugal innovation driven by community and partnerships. The Internet Society in Haiti, the local chapter, works with government, institutions, academia, civil society, private sector, international partners, regional partners in the Caribbean as well, Haitian Association in the diaspora, to promote universal internet access through community networks, internet resilience, digital trust and online safety, responsible AI, technical capacity building, and multi-stakeholder internet governance. Our approach is really simple. Whatever we are doing, people is placed at the center. So it is people first, technology second, and collaboration always. We always seek multi-stakeholder partnership to develop our initiatives. And I'm going to talk about the first pillar of our strategy about universal internet access through community-centered connectivity. One of ISOC IT's strategic priority has always been ensuring that rural and underserved communities can participate in digital economy. That means we have to address the connectivity issues. Haiti, unfortunately, as of this year, is placed at 40% in terms of internet coverage. So that means there is a lot of to do. Some will say a lot of room for progress. So rather than waiting for traditional market expansion, the local chapter has embraced the community network model, where community own and operate local internet infrastructure. We visit the communities, we discuss with them about their need in terms of connectivities, what needs to be put in place. We deploy infrastructure, we work with them to have local governance. We train staff locally to be able to help with support, with maintenance, with technical challenges, and then making sure that from the community we have resources. That means people pay for the service so that at the end of the day, the initiative can be sustainable. So after 5 years of implementation, we have deployed plus 100 point of service This we are talking about secondary schools like this one to the left corner that have been deployed in Rankit in the northern part of Haiti with an association of diaspora New York Friends of Haiti. And also we have worked with libraries, with universities, with fishermen, farmers, with agricultures in the southern part of Haiti. That's one of our last project, the most recent project in the city of Chamberlain, where we deployed a community network, but also a kiosk to recharge device as well. The project has been globally recognized. Last year, we received the championship prize from the World Summit on the Information Society by ITU. And this year, we have received the notification as of yesterday that we have been selected top 15 amongst 1,500 submissions for this project this year. And at the regional level, we have been also engaged helping a working group, the Caribbean Working Group of ISOC, to share best practices, to develop policies regarding cybersecurity has become one of the most pressing. So cybersecurity is not technical issues, but also a governance issue. ISOC Haiti convened cybersecurity working group, bringing together experts from government, academia, technical community, and also the private sector. We have a nice group of experts from Haitian in the diaspora, but also a local expert from the university, from the government, and from the private institutions. We create a working group which aims to work on the national cybersecurity roadmap. And this be on a foundation, on some foundation led by a project since last year, Haiti Digital Acceleration Project by the World Bank. Another pillar is artificial intelligence. As artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming every sector in our society. So rather than reacting to AI, Haiti has an opportunity to proactively shape our AI and by supporting national development of a strategy. To advance this vision, ISOC Haiti, I joined forces with some partners. A couple of days ago, we signed a memorandum of understanding with local partners, but also international partners, including BANJ, a project supported by the Inter-American Development Bank, the Association for Responsible AI, which is a 501c3 association based in the US, and an academic institution in Haiti, ESI. Those are some pictures of the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding. So two deliverables from these initiatives is an ecosystem mapping of the AI ecosystem mapping of Haiti, and also a roadmap of developing AI strategy for Haiti, but also that can be easily adapted for economic constraints economy, where they don't necessarily have all the resources, but instead of waiting and to be mere consumer of technology, the ability to develop something and be actors to develop solutions, to develop platform according to identified needs of local communities, in this case in Haiti. Another important pillar is online trust. Digital transformation, as you know, can only succeed if citizens trust the internet. So ISOC Haiti invests heavily in online safety, digital literacy, and misinformation resilience. For that, since 3 years, we have been engaged in a partnership with Meta to have this initiative to focus on online safety. We are planning also to, starting early next month, to launch a national anti-scam and anti-phishing campaign. So this will be conducted with national partners, and it will put focus on scam awareness, phishing prevention, cyber hygiene, and safe online behavior. We understand that we cannot do all this without developing human capacity. As we mentioned in the introduction, so we put people, human, at the center of everything we are doing. So technology alone does not create digital transformation, people do. ISOC Haiti continue investing in digital skills by partnering with national, international organizations and universities. Those are some more recent partners that we have been engaged with during last year and this year with Google, IBM, UC Berkeley and Suboptic, Cisco Networking Academy Program, the Internet Society Foundation, Internet Society Global, Association for Responsible AI, Banj, École Supérieure Photonique d'Haïti, to name a few. And we have been conducting a training program with those institutions targeting the internet ecosystem in Haiti in various topics, including internet governance, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, etc., to name just a few. It is also important to mention that one of the most important pillars for us is really to strengthening the internet governance. So ISOC Haiti investing in national through those initiatives, the Haitian Internet Governance Forum, the IGF, local IGF provides an annual multi-stakeholder bottom-up platform for stakeholders to discuss about digital policy, infrastructure, cybersecurity. And this year we'll have a focus on AI governance, AI ethics, and connectivity. We will also AI governance. And then give you an idea about the results of what we are doing in this sphere.
Max, is the video supposed to have audio?
Comme c'est d'abord virtuellement, c'est étudiant en campus en Christophe Limonade et par étudier sciences informatiques. Donc, Internet est quand même vraiment bon marché, donc c'est une machine virtuelle, donc ça Internet là vraiment aidé nous sans ça, donc pour marcher comme Melanie, donc c'est ça, c'est son grand panneau pour la chose. Je souhaite que nous épanouissons plus parce que nous avons des amis qui n'ont pas la même plateforme avec, qui toujours débarqué là à la ville pour Internet, donc je souhaite que nous mettons au côté qui peut, qui étendent plus dans la communauté.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. And I want to say congratulations on the WSIS Prize. So for those of you who don't know, the WSIS Forum takes place annually every year, and the stakeholders nominate projects and initiatives. They also vote on those projects and initiatives, and the winners receive prizes each year at the next WSIS Forum. Up next, we have Mr. Marcellus Constance, who will bring us updates on the St. Vincent and the Grenadines IGF.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates and fellow Caribbean colleagues. It is my pleasure to be with you virtually in Grenada for the 22nd CIGF. And on behalf of the ISOC, St. Vincent and Grenadines chapter, and also the NTRC, I bring you warm greetings from nearby St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Okay, I'm going to share a brief report of what happened in the past year for the St. Vincent and the Grenadines IGF, and then give you a little insight in terms of what we plan to do this year. So looking back on our journey over the past year, we convened our 7th IGF on October 30th, 2025. It was centered around the theme, the role of AI in cybersecurity. We wanted to move beyond the abstract theory and spark an honest conversation about how emerging technologies directly intersect with our day-to-day digital reality. Our chapter president, Simone Joseph Oliver, set the tone right for this opening by delivering part of our remarks using an AI-generated avatar and voice clone. It was a vivid reminder that the real question before us is not whether AI will change our landscape, but how we choose to govern and manage it. Throughout that day, our discussions hit right at the heart of our regional vulnerabilities. We were joined virtually by the CTO in the person of Mr. Rodney Taylor, the SG, who highlighted that automated malware and deepfake risks alongside other defensive tools like dark trades. But what resonated most came from our panel, featuring persons like Mr. Petros Gomes from the NCTI, that's the government agency that deals with training in ICTs, and Mr. Duncan from the ITSD, that's the government department that deals with the IT infrastructure, and an IT specialist, Mr. Amit Uttamchandani. I hope I got his pronunciation correct. So they reminded us that humans rather than hardware or code remain our most vulnerable link, especially in the Caribbean, where our culture, we have informal approvals done over a phone call or message, that these are normally common in the Caribbean. We closed the day by demonstrating practical tools like Gemini, Google Gemini, and Notebook LM, while our interactive audience session drove home a clear consensus. We urgently need sustained public education, starting in the primary schools, national AI strategies, and dedicated CSOTs. Carrying that momentum forward brings us to our upcoming 8th IGF, which is scheduled for next month, September 22nd. As we evaluated where our community stands today, one pressing reality stood out: our rapid expansion of Wi-Fi in the schools, public locations. The government of St. Vincent has had a program where these devices were distributed to students, and we had other community hotspots. So persons we were given access to students on the internet, and we were given devices. However, we realized that this moved faster than our protective mechanisms online. That is why our theme this year is Access Without Armor, Building Digital Safety for SVG. We recognize that unfettered connectivity without adequate safeguards places our children at risk, of encountering age-inappropriate content, cyberbullying, predatory behavior, and data exploitation. So we are bringing together educators, PTAs, the police, child protection officers under one roof. Beyond workshops that will equip parents and teachers with digital citizenship tools, we are staging an interactive student cyber trial roleplay to dissect online threats collaboratively. So true digital transformation in our region cannot flourish without trust, safety, and inclusive governance. As we evolve from understanding AI defense in 2025 to actively protecting our classrooms and youth this year in 2026. The Internet Society and Siblings and the Untitled Chapter remain steadfast in building a secure, resilient digital space alongside you, our partners represented here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, we have Mr. Agre Marsh of the Guyana IGF.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So it's a holiday here for me in Guyana. So just tell me if you could get my video now.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, all. So the IGF in Guyana, we started about, this is going to be just about our second year in existence. Key things to note this year, we have had a few conversations on Facebook filtering, very in-person meetup. That's one thing we were able to do this year. Secondly, because of how Guyana is situated, we are trying to build connectivity and partnership with persons in Berbice and in Essequibo for the purposes of building capacity. So there are two things that we have planned going to end this year, going into next year. One of them is just a simple meetup with persons in Berbice to let them know what IGF is and how they can get involved and what are some of the plans we have in place. And for that to be done, we have partnered with the University of Guyana, with the department in getting the cybersecurity club at the university to come on board and present. So they will be our presenters when we go to Berbice. Additionally, one of the telecoms here have given us some resources in terms of presenters to guide us on what services they offer. So we have gotten the private sector involved in a very small way, but we're in conversation to build that capacity there. Moving along to what we're doing at from a project standpoint, we're in communication with one ISP in Essequibo. This is Region 2, for those who have an understanding of Guyana and the Essequibo coast. And we have all seen the tragedy with the Burima sinking. So in that region in particular, we are working with families and young men who may be looking to become technicians and therefore partnering them with companies and institutions that can train them up so they can be employed in the region and out region, because that is one of the most underserved region in the country in terms of communication. So that's a project that we are undertaking. We have 2 partners for that project, but we have not come to a complete agreement. So I could share that with you. Hopefully next CIGF, I'll be able to outline to you where we have started and where we are going. As we continue to grow, a few things have come up in our open forum. That is social media monitoring, social media concerns, given that the government has now have an official relationship with Facebook, and then a level of concern and discussions nationally. Most importantly, the use of open data that came out in the Burima tragedy and how persons would have used data to communicate that was verified and unverified. So the conversation has now evolved to the data, our local data sets being seen or not seen in LLMs, and therefore the information coming out of a model may not necessarily reflect things that are completely true. So we have had that conversation, and we're looking at ways in which we can make data available in a structured way so that when information is polled by LLM or one of the AI models, is accurate and up to date. So that's some of the work we're doing. We're also working with the University of Guyana with this, and some of the clubs, not necessarily the official university, but some of the students in the clubs, so that eventually they can now be filtered into the IGF and take up permanent roles in same. We have had a few new members coming on board. Let's get to membership. We have the 2 private sector entities coming on board, and then there's 1 educational institution from Berbice that have come on board to partner with us. So that is where we are in terms of growth. And I want to end with an open call for support, and as we structure our next 2-year plan for the different IGFs in the region, I'll reach out to you, because we'll want to do every quarter collaborate with each one of you to do an online event per quarter, sharing your experience and success. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and we look forward to that call. Now, for a little context, the CIGF was first launched in Guyana. And then at our 20th anniversary, we went back to Guyana, and the most significant outcome of that IGF was the formation of the Guyana IGF. I will leave that tidbit as a hint for every Grenadian present. Now, to close off our Caribbean IGF updates, we'll have a video presentation from Cuba.
Distinguidos delegados, desde la sociedad civil de la República de Cuba, quiero comenzar estas palabras con un profundo agradecimiento a la Unión de Telecomunicaciones del Caribe y al Gobierno de Granada por la organización y acogida de este 22 Foro Caribeño de Gobernanza de Internet y el 5º Foro Caribeño Juvenil de Gobernanza de Internet. Es un honor para nuestro país compartir con ustedes reflexiones sobre un tema que nos concierne a todos, el futuro de Internet en nuestra región y en particular la experiencia de Cuba en este camino. En el mundo cada vez más digitalizado, la gobernanza de Internet se ha convertido en un pilar fundamental para el desarrollo soberano y sostenible de las naciones. Cuba, en este contexto, ha dado pasos importantes al posicionarse como un actor clave en la agenda digital del Caribe. La historia del Foro de Gobernanza de Internet en Cuba comienza en el año 2019, con su primera edición nacional. Desde entonces, se ha consolidado como un espacio de diálogo entre el gobierno, la academia, el sector empresarial y la sociedad civil. En octubre de 2024 se celebró el segundo Foro de Gobernanza de Internet, donde se sentaron las bases para la discusión nacional sobre tecnologías emergentes, inteligencia artificial y la necesidad de un acceso inclusivo y seguro a la red. Estos foros han sido clave para la formulación de políticas públicas que buscan cerrar las brechas digitales en nuestro país. Pero también han tenido una proyección internacional. En el año 2025, Cuba fue sede por primera vez del Foro Caribeño de Gobernanza de Internet, el más longevo del mundo, fundado en el 2005. Ese precedente dejó una huella importante en la formulación de políticas regionales y demostró la capacidad de Cuba para liderar estos debates en el Caribe. Y es que la importancia de estos foros para la región es indiscutible. A lo largo de más de 2 décadas, el Foro de Gobernanza de Internet Caribe ha sido el espacio donde el Caribe ha logrado articular su voz en el debate global sobre Internet. Gracias a estos encuentros, se ha podido desarrollar un marco de políticas de gobernanza de Internet para el Caribe. Se han promovido puntos de intercambio de Internet en toda la región y se ha fortalecido la capacidad regional en gobernanza digital y se ha incrementado la participación e influencia en el Caribe en los foros internacionales. Se ha celebrado al menos 23 sesiones de formación en 18 países. Se han firmado múltiples acuerdos de colaboración. Se han creado al menos 3 foros nacionales de gobernanza de Internet. Estas son evidencias concretas de que la integración digital no es una aspiración lejana, sino una realidad que se construye paso a paso. Y este foro es una muestra de que la unidad caribeña es posible y necesaria, particularmente en el ámbito digital, donde los desafíos son comunes y las soluciones deben ser compartidas. Sin embargo, en el camino hacia la integración digital enfrentan obstáculos que no podemos ignorar. El tercer Foro de Gobernanza de Internet de Cuba, que debía realizarse en el presente año, ha tenido que ser suspendido. La razón es en la crítica situación energética que atraviesa nuestro país. Esta crisis no es un hecho aislado ni una fatalidad natural. Está directamente relacionada con el recrudecimiento del bloqueo económico, comercial y financiero de los Estados Unidos, la imposibilidad de importar combustibles y las sanciones unilaterales impuestas a nuestro país por el actual gobierno estadounidense. Pero a pesar de todas estas adversidades, el diálogo regional no se detiene, ni el compromiso de Cuba con ello. Este 22 Foro Caribeño de Gobernanza de Internet, que se celebra bajo el lema de la conectividad a la capacidad, dando forma a un Caribe digital resiliente, confiable e innovador, es una prueba de ello. La continuidad de estos eventos demuestra la madurez de nuestra región para abordar estos desafíos de manera conjunta. El precedente de Cuba con su sede en el año 2025 sigue siendo un referente y desde aquí reafirmamos nuestro compromiso con la construcción de un ecosistema digital más integrado y soberano para el Caribe, como vía para el desarrollo de nuestros pueblos. Por eso, quiero terminar con una idea. Superar la barrera del bloqueo no es un capricho, es una necesidad. Es esencial para que el Caribe pueda avanzar hacia un futuro digital realmente inclusivo, resiliente y próspero para todos sus ciudadanos. Muchas gracias. Cuba presente, Caribe presente. Distinguidos delegados, desde la sociedad civil de la República de Cuba.
Now, we take a look at the wider region. The Caribbean is unique as it falls into multiple other groupings. So first, we look at the Latin America and Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, represented by Ms. Lillian Rojas.
Hi, thank you for the invitation. I'm going to share a presentation. Well, I want to congratulate to the Caribbean Telecommunication Union and the government of Grenada for this forum. I think it's an important space, and also I want to Congrats to all the countries from the Caribbean that share their experiences. I think it's very valuable, and we all have a lot to learn of your work here. I'm going to share a little bit about our LACIGF, the Latin American and Caribbean Internet Governance Forum. As many of you know, we began the forum in 2008 in Montevideo, Uruguay, and then we have had 18 editions in different countries of Latin America, one in Trinidad and Tobago, and the last LACIGF were in Chile and Argentina. We had 3 online editions, and in July of 2021, we and the program committee create a new bylaws where establish a new structure for the LACIGF. In 2023, we began the implementation of the new bylaws, selecting a new secretariat for the LACIGF. I am part of Colnodo, that is the secretariat that were selected in that moment. And in 2024, we began with the confirmation of the workshop selection committee, and that is confirmed by 12 people from different sectors and from different countries. And they made the first call for session proposals in 2024 for the forum in Chile, and then also for the forum in Argentina. The structure of the LACIGF is the multi-stakeholder committee that is the strategic committee for the LACIGF, the workshop selection committee, and the intersessional working groups. This year, we will have the news about the intersessional working groups, because the idea is that in our LACIGF that is going to be in Fortaleza, Brazil, we will be working in the confirmation of these intersessional working groups, and then it is an invitation also for the Caribbean countries and for the Caribbean community to be part of these groups. In the LACIGF, we count with the presence and vision of different stakeholder groups, the private sector, the government, the civil society, the technical community, and others like media and academia. The last year, we have our 18 LACIGF that was the 5 and 6 of November of 2025 in the Catholic University of Córdoba, Argentina. In that forum, we have the participation in person of 222 persons from 17 countries of the Latin America. We had 12 parallel sessions in different formats, some of them workshops and panels, but also we have some like artistic sessions that also touch some topics about internet governance. We have 4 plenary sessions, 8 lightning talks, and approximately 129 panelists, moderators, and presenters from 14 countries. Here we can see a graphic about the participation in person. We have a big presence of civil society, but also the presence of academia, technical community, private sector, and government. We also want to highlight the presence of many women in different roles in the forum. Our next forum will be in Fortaleza, Brazil, the 4, 5, and 6 of November. Our hosts in Brazil are ARIN, CIGF, and NIC. We are going to have a day 0 and 2-day forum. All the event will be an hybrid event with the opportunity to participate online or in person. We hope the presence of 150 in-person participants and the translation in 3 languages. We are preparing our agenda, but we will have more than 20 sessions, like in 12 parallel sessions for this year are rights, inclusion, gender, childhood and diversity, resilience, cybersecurity and internet infrastructure, artificial intelligence, data and platform governance, digital skills, education and technology adoption, universal access and meaningful connectivity, internet governance, cooperation and regional coordination, sustainability, environment, and digital transition. These topics were selected also with an open call with the participation of many people from all the region. I want to tell a little bit about the process. We defined our country host the last year in 2025 with an open call where Brazil was selected with, as I said, with ARIN, CGI, and NIC as hosts. This year we made an open call for topic proposals where we can choose the topics that I showed before. We did the renewal of the workshop selection committee, and it's just for one person per sector. We select one person per sector for renewal the committee. We made the call for session proposals, and now we are finishing the evaluation of those proposals. We received almost 100 of proposals from different countries of Latin America. We are finishing the evaluation, and soon we will present the agenda for the final agenda for the event. And also soon we are going to have the open call for scholarships and the pre-register for the event. We hope the community from the Caribbean can join to our forum. We hope you can participate on the Brazil discussions and create also more links and more interaction with the movement of internet governance in Latin America and in the countries of the Caribbean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lillian. Now, we look at the Small Island Developing States Internet Governance Forum. This will be presented by Mr. Tracy Hackshaw.
Hello, testing, see if you can hear me okay. Yes?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let me see if I could find, there we go. All right. Okay, so this is a report, brief report on the third Small Island Developing States IGF, CIGF for short. This was held in Mauritius very recently, actually, just a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, 31st July to 1st August 2026. And it was the first CIGF that was held outside the Caribbean, which is a good step for taking the CIDS movement forward. The theme of this third CIGF was navigating the digital tide, resilience, security, and innovation in SIDS. So this SIDS IGF was designed to connect 3 regions. The Caribbean region, and of course, as I mentioned, this was the first SIDS IGF held outside the Caribbean, but not only that, it was the first SIDS IGF held in the Indian Ocean. And this is a region that has often been overlooked in the discussions around the IGF and SIDS in particular. For those who don't know, the Indian Ocean islands include islands such as Madagascar, Mauritius, Comoros, Seychelles, Reunion, and Cabo Verde, and a couple others that don't come to mind at the moment. They're not as numerous as those in the Caribbean or in the Pacific, but they are just as important and just as vulnerable as many of us. Madagascar being a large island, but of course in the Caribbean we have large islands as well, and in the Pacific also very large islands. So they're not limited just small tiny islands, as we say, but there are large islands there as well, which have, for some reason, the larger islands tend to have larger problems in terms of social issues, etc. So across these regions, we believe in the SIDS IGF, and I'm here representing the Dynamic Coalition on Small Island Developing States in the Internet Economy, which is a United Nations IGF Dynamic Coalition. And as you would have seen in the previous slide, this SIDS IGF was a collaborative venture co-hosted by the DC SIDS, as I just mentioned, the CTU, and the organizers of the Mauritius IGF in Mauritius, Haley Movement. So as we look to continue this cooperation, which is, as you could imagine, across these oceans, is not extremely easy, it's very complex. We attempt to find common agendas and ensure that we, in addition to the internet governance issues, traditional issues, we look to build out the concept of digital resilience. Resilience being a core theme of SIDS, not just digital, obviously, but we would talk about cyber resilience on the cybersecurity side, but of course, climate resilience, other sorts of physical resilience, economic resilience, etc. So it's not just about digital resilience, but for the purposes of the SIDS IGF, we focus on digital resilience. And of course, in the context of the SIDS IGF, we are able to compare, coordinate, and bridge our various regions to see how best we can work together. So the 2026 IGF, we framed it as sort of a stock take of progress, a pivot point, given that we did shift our lens to another region, looking at the challenges and what are the emerging priorities. So we focused on 4 themes, key themes: why the IGF matters, the digital leap, climate and cyber resilience, and finally charting our own course. In the final session, we looked to focus on stronger policy agency, looking at local and regional rules for AI and data, stronger internet and DNS security, climate resilient infrastructure investment, youth participation, and of course, a coordinated voice internationally. One of the things that we have been speaking about in the SIDS IGF and in the DC SIDS in particular, and in the overarching SIDS movement within the IGF, is speaking with our voices, more specifically trying to speak with one voice and raising the volume of that voice, because as separate entities, we tend to not be heard as small islands, We are marginalized in the discussions, and on occasion, one or two countries dominate within even the SIDS. So getting the SIDS together as an entity, as a grouping of over 50 countries, territories, is an important milestone, because if you count 55 and the United Nations is just about over 200, while we are not population-wise as large as other countries, obviously, numerically, in terms of the number of territories and countries, we are just about a quarter of the world in terms of numeric entities. And that's an important figure to take note of, that a quarter of the world are small island developing states from the standpoint of the entities within the number of countries and territories in the world. So the strongest message that we focused on, resilience is not a sector. It shouldn't be seen as a specific sector. It cuts across everything that we're doing, as we said, climate, cyber, infrastructure, and governance. And as with issues such as cybersecurity and other types of discussions, we are promoting the design of digital resilience from the outset. So digital resilience by design. And in doing that, we need to look at infrastructure, procurement, system architecture, data, continuity, and of course, the most valuable resource in SIDS, especially given the move towards artificial intelligence, our people. So there are 5 messages that we believe are important. Message 1, resilience is a design requirement. And by this, we mean to avoid bolting cybersecurity or climate resilience onto digital projects after deployment. It should be built in from the start. Build resilience into infrastructure, procurement, system architecture, governance, and operating models from the very outset. We talk about leapfrogging a lot, but leapfrogging requires guardrails. So AI and advanced digital tools can compress development timelines, but weak data governance, and of course AI governance, skills gaps, cyber controls, and critically for the SIDS, vendor dependency, which leads to issues related to sovereignty and others, can simply create new forms of fragility. We need to make that very clear, that in this dispensation, especially as the AI age moves forward, we need to find a way to avoid having what happened with the first wave of the internet, social media, and cloud computing, where the Caribbean, Pacific, and Indian Ocean islands, SIDS as a whole, became simply consumers of technology. There were exceptions. I mean, not saying that there were not exceptions, but largely, by and large, we are consumers of the technology that is developed and implemented by what is called big tech in the world literature. Thirdly, island scale makes cooperation economic. It's important, as I said before, to understand that we cannot continue operating as individual rocks or islands and hoping that we succeed. This attempt or method may have been useful in the past, but certainly not today, where everything is at scale and moving rapidly. Many SIDS cannot sustain specialist capability independently due to brain drain and other types of resource depletions. Regional centers of expertise, shared services, common standards, coordinated procurement, and trusted information sharing, like with ISOCs, can reduce the cost of resilience. Fourthly, internet governance is strategic capacity. Participation in IGF processes is not ceremonial. It is a mechanism for shaping rules, standards, narratives, and partnerships before they become constraints on SIDS. And as it has been said in the Caribbean IGF discussions, Youth must be part of the operating model. I noted with interest Shanea's session a bit earlier, where she spoke on the Caribbean IGF and the pivot or the peak in 2022 when the SIDS IGF and the Caribbean Youth IGF were created. And from since then, we've seen larger and more active participation from, I'm assuming, as you said, youth would be the greater taker, but I would love to think that it's also wider than that. And the SIDS IGF, we believe, also plays a role in this, both from the standpoint of the wider regions, plural, as well as the youth across those regions. The youth must certainly be part of the operating model, moving beyond participation, beyond representation, towards skills pipelines, innovation, policy development, and practical roles in national and regional digital resilience. So this matters to small states in a disproportionate way. It's important to understand that as a small island, we cannot economically duplicate every capability we need. It's not possible. So the answer is not to become self-sufficient at any and everything. It is to become better at cooperating. So for the Caribbean, lessons for the Caribbean, we see one territory developing a new resource, cooperating with other territories who've had that before is useful. In the AI race, cooperating together to see if we can build small language models that are unique and useful to our region with context. In the data center discussions, instead of building data centers around the region, which obviously for all sorts of reasons doesn't make any sense, consolidate, utilize existing infrastructure, and build where you can at scale, but to allow others in the region to participate within that scale and all cooperate together, especially for better harmonized data governance and eventually AI governance. That leads to shared expertise, which can be cross-fertilized across the region, common standards, trusted information, and gaining a collective voice. And in the Caribbean, a lesson for the Caribbean, we would love to see the Caribbean single ICT space really come up to speed, because this shared expertise and cross-fertilization, common standards, harmonized policies will be critical to ensuring that we can become more resilient as a region and perhaps work together with other regions to share that experience, and perhaps even at some point a single SIDS ICT space can be considered. So, as I hinted, there are lessons for the Caribbean. Turning the SIDS lessons into Caribbean policy. So mapping SIDS IGF messages against Caribbean IGF and CARICOM digital priorities, identifying the small number of issues where Caribbean common position adds leverage. Build shared cyber resilience capacity. Strengthen regional information sharing, incident readiness, DNS security awareness, critical infrastructure resilience, and practical exercises. And I would just like to pitch the post-ISOC, of which I'm heading at the Universal Postal Union, as a strong example of where the Caribbean can participate in regional information and threat intelligence sharing and proactive shared resilience. Make resilience a procurement criterion. Use common principles for cloud, AI, digital government, submarine connectivity, and other critical digital investments, security, continuity, interoperability, data governance, and climate exposure. Create a SIDS digital policy timeline. Connect the national IGFs, the Caribbean IGF, the DC SIDS, global IGF participation, the IGFs that could become regional, the Pacific IGF, for example, the Indian Ocean IGF, which has to come up as well, and the global IGF, so that issues become more international, more global, moving from local experience to regional synthesis, global advocacy, and implementation. Measure follow-through. Ensure that we keep develop KPIs, track a small set of action indicators, advanced policies, joint initiatives launched, capacity built, incidents and exercises completed, and global processes influenced. So finally, the test of success is follow through. We applaud the Caribbean Internet Governance Forum for its work, and of course the CTU and Secretary General Rodney Taylor and Deputy Secretary General Nigel Cassimire for taking the mantle up and the call from the DC SIDS and others to have the SIDS IGF become a lasting institution, a lasting forum for cooperation, discussion, and I dare say action. Moving to priorities, owners, and measures is the way we should move forward, because a short action portfolio beats at any time a long list of recommendations. So get our actions moving, and the lessons learned are the key. So across oceans, we share the same resilience problem. The opportunity to turn that common exposure into common capability and a stronger SIDS voice. Please visit the archive, which is available at the link on the screen, isoc.live, live/21700. And I would like to give special thanks, appreciation to Jolie McPhee, who's also doing similar activity for the Caribbean IGF. Thank you, Jolie, for putting the archive together and creating bite-sized chunks of the SIDS IGF. Despite all the audio and other challenges we faced, it's come across quite well. Thank you, Jolie, for creating that for us. And I do invite all of you to take a look at this, as well as the other SIDS IGFs that have happened in 2024, hybrid out of Antigua, and in 2022, hybrid out of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, the Pacific, where we partner with them, but the physical elements were held in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much, and I hand you back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy. And now to round out this panel, we have Ms. Anya Gengo from the UN IGF.
Thank you very much, Shanea, and very well, it's good evening from Geneva, but I understand might be still good afternoon in Grenada. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I use the opportunity to congratulate you on once again successfully organizing the Caribbean IGF colleagues who have run the Youth Caribbean IGF as well. And happy birthday, 20th anniversary. That's certainly a huge milestone. You know, the Caribbean IGF is the only NRI, the only IGF initiative that predates the IGF. So there's really a lot to celebrate this year. I'm sorry that we couldn't join you in person. I felt the atmosphere at the Caribbean IGF being in person when I was there in Havana. No, in Varadero, sorry, in Cuba. And it was incredible, the organization, just the people, the discussions there. It's a very specific region with specific challenges. And I would say really worth of admiration, the level of cooperation and stakeholder engagement that you have there, which also includes so many national IGFs and of course the youth IGFs, wonderful cooperation with the LAC IGF as well. So I won't be sharing any slides with you. I also understand that I may be the last speaker in this session, and I don't want to take a lot of your time. So let me just focus on what's, I think, the most important with respect to the information regarding preparing the 21st annual IGF meeting, which will be hosted by the government of Kenya in Nairobi from 14th to 18th of December this year. The Multistakeholder Advisory Group, together with our host country, already met in person during the open consultations and mega meeting that was hosted in Nairobi. That's the local turf. And they agreed on the overarching theme, which is governing the internet in the age of intelligence, our shared responsibility. That is the overarching theme. Following that decision, we call for session proposals shortly after, and I have to say we received a record number of proposals, really of high quality as well. So the MAG did not have an easy task, but they managed to conclude the evaluation of the workshops just this past Friday. And I think now the most challenging part comes our way. How do you make a cut amongst such good proposals of having just very limited number of proposals that the program can accommodate, given the agenda requirements and the space limitations. So that decision will be taking place during the second open consultations and MAG meeting, which will happen from 7th to 9th of September here in Geneva, and of course online for those colleagues who may participate remotely. We're hoping that shortly after 9th of September, we will have the sessions that are approved for the agenda, and then that will enable us to work on the draft agenda and draft program for Nairobi, which will be then announced as soon as possible in September. Preparing for that Nairobi meeting, of course, the NRIs collectively work as well to ensure that they bring quality to the overall participation. So through the regular monthly meetings, where so many of the NRIs from the region, including the Caribbean IGF, participate, the group did make some progress, I would say significantly. So it was decided that the NRIs collectively will prepare a main session for the IGF in Nairobi, which will focus on child online safety. Now we're entering a process where we are looking into specificities within that team. Also, there will be 3 collaborative sessions. The group, the network now is reorganizing internally to form multi-stakeholder working teams, which will further prepare proposals and sessions focused on AI governance, on digital inclusion, and on digital cooperation. And we will, I think as of tomorrow, know who are the working teams. And then, of course, the call is open to everyone to join and participate, respecting the NRI's working modalities. So that would be with respect to the NRIs. I have to say also that the IGF is working hard to translate the will of stakeholders that was portrayed through the General Assembly resolution from last year on WSIS Plus 20, where the IGF was asked to also work on some new agile collaborative formats and methods of work, where the NRIs received strong recognition and the IGF, thanks to that, received the recognition as an ecosystem. Of course, it was also made or recognized as a permanent forum of the UN, which has a specific value. And you know that the resolution as well called for a governmental dialogue in a multi-stakeholder setup. So this is precisely something that we will be discussing more closely and more concretely during this upcoming second open consultations and MAG meeting. On the point of new formats, we did launch just days ago call for internet governance labs, something that's lighter, that will look at how emerging technologies are impacting the internet. And this year, of course, we are focusing on AI as emerging tech, given that that's something that the community marked as a priority. So with that, we really look forward to cooperating with all of you. Please be attentive to our newsletter mailing list. Most of the updates are shared through it. There will be a call for travel support as well, and we will keep you posted, of course, on the details related to that. But just make sure, please, to follow the IGF website. And I use the opportunity to thank the NRIs from the region for their valuable work. These updates that you shared really speak in favor of excellent work happening for good digital governance in the region. And thank you for making sure to bring those inputs or your outputs to the world as well, including through the IGF, through the NRI's network. And I hope to see many of you in Nairobi this December. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anya. Now, as we're into lunch, we won't have time to take any questions, but I will pose a question to all our participants. Would you like to participate in internet governance? Would you like to be the representative bringing Grenada's perspectives and priorities, not just to your other national citizens, but to the region or to the global community. At this time, I'd like to thank all our panelists and ask everyone to turn their videos on for a group photo. And I hand over the rest of the proceedings to our MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shanea Lewis, Policy Analyst of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. So it's a photo op at the moment. Again, panelists, please turn your cameras on so you can be included in the photo with Ms. Lewis.